G'day YouTubers, and thank you for tuning in to today's video on YouTube. I don't usually start videos like this, but I've made some various different changes to my pumpkin plant, and I've actually noted that because there was a lot of dirt penetrating right from, the place that I usually work in, I've actually decided to turn over my pumpkin plant. My pumpkin fruit is actually looking a-okay. It's still green, it's not yet getting big at the moment. Hopefully, once we lose a lot more chlorophyll during the autumn months, it will be really awesome to see that thing turn yellow and then turn orange, which will be hopefully one of the best things I'm about to encounter this autumn. And yes, we have just came out from a shockingly hot summer of 38.1 degrees Celsius, somewhere around England. Mind you, for those who live in Scotland in the north, very, very lucky to know. We are going to be experiencing some rain, but whether or not it will be raining will have to depend on how heavy it is, the amount of instability there is, and also depending of how much strength and intensity there is, depending of what kind of air mass are we dealing with at the moment, and depending on the wind direction as well, and the speed as well, because obviously when it comes to the meteorology, you never know of how much rain is there going to be falling. Sorry for my bad English, but yes, hey, let me just go ahead and take you through a scope across through my backyard garden. And I've also been using a nice handy pair of secateurs, and don't tell me I've been using gloves. And there's a lot of construction works outside at the moment, so there's actually neighbours doing a lot of stuff in the backyard garden. But I'm going to go ahead and start talking about what's in the backyard garden. Of course, we've got some fresh cabbages. They've actually been growing oh so well, and thank goodness, thanks to the fact that today we're going to be experiencing 24 degrees Celsius, it is of course a tad cooler than, well, of course, yes, over the last week or so. This temperature has actually kicked off as early as Saturday or Sunday. I'm actually so glad that this is the sort of summer that I've been waiting for. Cooler temperatures, somewhat more Scottish, somewhat much more, basically how our typical summers are like. Just somewhat, I would say benign, not too hot, and somewhat changeable. I think that's how our summers are always going to be like. Well, not anymore, I'm afraid, because, hey, our climate is changing. We've also got some fresh looking cornflowers that have also been flowering very, very well. I was actually expecting different colour variations, but I think it looks like we've just only get bluish purpley things. Right, I'm going to go down and see how everything is like across many of the other things that I seem to showcase around here. Okay, as I'm trundling across, it almost seems like there's nothing else, and apparently there's a lot of work right over on the background, a lot of noise and stuff. But anyways, we've got our pumpkin. Basically this is the second pumpkin that has successfully ripened so nicely, and actually has grown. I have to say, hey, I'm actually so glad that I've actually got two pumpkins. The one which is growing right over here is the one that has just grown a little bit older, and this one here is obviously going to be a much chunkier and much fairly larger variant. And it looks like we've actually got is that a robin that's actually foraging across through hedgerows and things? That's a very common thing I often tend to see in my backyard gardens. Yeah, it's also quite cloudy as well, somewhat muggy, but not as muggy as I think it will be, because we're going to have some rain, and definitely, boy oh boy, we'll need some more of that for the next 2 weeks or so. I can't wait for some rain to really straightforward happen within a month's time. Or should I just say, hey, within a minute's time, there should be enough rain for the whole backyard garden to be replenished, because we haven't seen much of it. Yes, we've got some fresh pumpkin flowers. They've already been so good. But what I've noticed is that some of these pumpkins have actually started to grow really, really big. I'll talk about these later. I've also got some fresh pepper seedlings in which they are growing. But unfortunately, most of them are going to pretty much be wiped out. Probably because I forgot to actually analyze on the fact that we have just came out from a very relatively cold winter. And a very wet one, to possibly say the least. Even though spring must have been dry on average, hasn't it? Right. Even more so, I've also been clearing out some of the bits of vegetation that normally seem to reside here. Now I've actually made some space. This is actually a lot much more easier for me to try and walk around and traverse around different things. Some calendulas, and right next to it are some tomatoes or some tomatoes. I've actually done a lot of editing on my tomato plant. I've actually just trimmed out some of these small pocket-sized leaves. It's to promote a greater level of airflow so that the wind can circulate all its way back and provide more nutrients and things. I might be totally wrong doing this because I'm not really an expert. And we've got a robin, of course, and it's actually turning more almost adult-like. You can actually just see there's a patch of brown right over in his feathers. So transforming from somewhat being an adult, well actually a juvenile bird into an adult bird is somewhat very miraculous. That's what I can say. It's a very miraculous transitional point when this bird goes all the way from being a teenager to an adult. That's how formidable these birds are. Small but somewhat determined, needing to become the next generation of all the robins. He's kind of spooked by that wasp, maybe because that wasp was about to sting at him. But anyways, we've got lots and lots of pumpkin flowers, lots and lots of calendula flowers, and actually going back to the tomatoes, or tomatoes as I like to call them, there's only 3 of them, but if they are straightforward not ripening, one of the best clever things I like to do is to probably put them maybe in a bag or something, and just put them next to like bananas and apples for about a week or 2, and then they start to ripen. That's how those straightforward become. And apparently there's some other weird things around here. Quite nice. There's some noisy garden tools basically like powering through the entire neighborhood, which is not that nice to know. More pumpkin growth. Okay, I think that's actually going to straightforward culminate once we get towards late September and October, because you know these sort of plants are not going to be that much here for longer, I'd say. And nasturtiums, more pumpkin plants. I will have to harvest my pumpkin plants just because of, you know, they are very much nice to grow, but the difficulty can be very much varied depending on which cultivar you're in. Mine is the jack-o'-lantern, of course, which I'll probably presume is quite intermediate in terms of looking after them. I'm not sure how the pumpkins are going to be like when it's raining, and my pumpkin has actually experienced quite a bit of mildew, so I've actually had to trim some of its leaves and some of its vines down just because I wanted to get a bit more airflow onto the pumpkin. There's a beautiful small looking sunflower. The lettuces have also been quite good as well, so hopefully they won't need a bit of shading. They need a lot more in the way of sunlight, but more appropriately for temperatures during, let's just say, you know, like a typical summer's month, like, you know, 21 to 24 degrees Celsius and not 25 and onwards. There you go. We've also got that sunflower, which probably presumably is the oldest sunflower I've grown for this year, and unfortunately it's not going to be flowering, I'd say. Hey, more nasturtiums, isn't it? Right. And there's also some very good potatoes. I've actually just started harvesting quite a few potatoes. There'll be more along of it. There'll be more of it along the way, hey, once I get towards September and October. Oh man, everything's almost going to be like the all-time harvest season, isn't it, hey? The good old harvest season is nearly going to be like appearing. And I've also been washing out this new plank of wood because I couldn't find the other plank of wood. It's getting a bit more hard to find these days. Anyways, I'm going to leave this video right here. So if you really enjoyed this video, and if you might be wondering why I didn't make any new videos, well, it was actually because I was actually on a long trip to Chasewater again. Crikey, Charlie's. And there's also a bit of a bonus right here. On the top are some blackberries. Let me just go ahead and straightforward traverse for a bit before I end this video, because, you know, it wouldn't be that fair if I ignored the blackberries. Oh man, my backyard garden has been quite the major attraction outdoors, as always, as per usual in my house. I love doing just that, actually. Whoops, sorry about that. Ah, yes. These are beautiful. I'll try another one here. They're very nice. And is that a shield bug? Oh gosh. I think I just saw a nasty looking stink bug. I think that's what I just saw. Something green, horrific. Aren't these like the critters that sort of damage, you know, let's just say citrus trees. I might be totally wrong. But anyways, I'm going to eat quite a few of them. Or maybe all of them, in which they are technically ripe. But even though they're quite ripe, there's a varying degree of taste. Some of which are sour, others are sweet. I still love them, actually. Well, it looks like I'm going to eat them all. Yummy. Right, I'm going to go back and straightforward show you almost everything in general. I'm going to have to probably put that new slab of wood. Oh, I nearly fell, didn't I? That was one of the few penalties that I had so far. Clumsy me. Right, before I should straightforward end this video, I'm going to put my tablet right here, and start putting up a new wooden slab. As long as I'm finding it nice and dry, I might probably reposition it into somewhere else. I'm going to carefully drag this, and because this area is a bit groggy and a bit wet, I'm going to try and find a good area for my pumpkin plant to reside in. I think here will be a much better solution for it to sit. Hopefully that should be about it. Okay, how's it looking for my pumpkin to really sit in? How's it looking? It's looking pretty good. I just hope there's no soil and dirt contaminating the plant, because if there is, it might start to rot. So as long as it's on a much clean and somewhat fine spot, there is a very good chance that this pumpkin will start to ripen even further and grow bigger and bigger and bigger. But let's just hope, you know, how big or small this pumpkin is like. And as it's progressing throughout the rest of the second half of August, you know, the second half of mid-August and then into late August, and then when you get into September, it's going to be quite astonishing. Totally utterly astonishing. And you know why? It's because yes, hey, I'm basically looking after this thing. Totally awesome, isn't it? Oh, get rid of a few bits of dirt. So, that's going to be about it for today's gardening tour video. Strangely enough, I didn't make any at all. And if you really enjoyed this video, please give this video a very good like, subscribe for more flat videos in the future. And as always, thanks so much for watching, and bye for now. And 90% of my videos on YouTube aren't always that perfect on my YouTube channel today and onwards. Okay, that's it again. Bye now.